Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Gehenna Gaming interview. Today, I'm happy to have James Hutt, game designer at Talsorian Games, with me, co-developer for Cyberpunk Red, as well as the Witcher TTRPG. Cyberpunk Red recently launched through DriveThruRPG and on the Talsorian shop, and has quickly climbed up to a mithril bestseller over on DriveThru. So first off, congratulations on that, and secondly, thank you for joining me tonight. How are
Yeah.
you?
You can also get it. Also, if you're looking to get it with the PDF and you go down to your friendly local game store, you can get it with the Bits and Mortar program.
Excellent.
That's a cool way to do that, especially given everything that's going on.
Yes, it is. How are you?
Uh, anyway, I'm doing great.
Awesome.
I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
It's 2020, so I am okay, but otherwise doing pretty well. It, Congrats on the very successful launch so far. I've only heard glowing reviews about the game. How has it been on your end?
It's been great. It's been great to see the fan reaction to it. It's nothing is more fun than looking at the Reddit in the morning, at least for me.
We have an internal joke that everything just dies on Reddit, but as long as Reddit is giving
We
you
have
good
great.
reviews.
We got a good Reddit. We've got a good Reddit.
Good, good. I'm glad to hear it. So
They're happy.
obviously,
They are happy.
as long as Reddit is happy, I think that's all that matters right now. Um, so obviously we're here to talk about Cyberpunk Red, but I want to give our viewers a little bit more of a background on you, what your background in gaming is, and kind of how that's brought you into working with R. Talsorian and working on this book. So how did you get into TTRPGs originally?
Okay, so the first TTRPG I played was 3.5 D&D back in the day. I believe I was in middle school, and I really liked it. And in high school, I started a D&D club at my boarding school. We were the only club allowed to stay up after lights out, which is a big thing in a boarding school. And it was because we played with the physics teacher. And what makes this even nerdier is that the physics teacher was not the GM; he was just a player.
That's amazing. He's like, nah, you
And
run the game.
I didn't run it. I didn't run it,
Nice.
but that was a great time. Um, and in college, I got to play a lot of stuff and
Hmm.
started thinking maybe I want to do this for a living. Of course, I'm hedging and stuff. I get a BA in economics,
Hmm.
but I'm focusing on like microeconomics to study a lot about game theory. Do my thesis on game theory present on historical pirate ships in Port Royal, how they were solving the inefficiencies of the Spanish colonization.
Okay.
Yeah, they had like you want to get like a sewing machine like they haven't delivered in 3 years from Spain, and you're so used to those because you came from Spain. Maybe you'd start trading with smugglers.
Makes sense. I probably would. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they said they'd come every 2 years, and they haven't come to deliver you anything in 3 or 4. They,
Yeah. You definitely.
unless they tell you this is something they actually did. They said, have a bunch of food stockpiled for us when we show up, and it would just rot in storerooms, and you were starving. Maybe you'd
Oof.
take that food and trade it for more sewing machines.
Yeah. Oh no.
Anyway,
So how has that influenced your game design
that
development?
that jumped into some really specific stuff really quickly. But of course, I got out in 2016.
Mhm.
Recession, bad time to do that, but no choice.
Yep.
Um, and I started an indie company, make indie video games,
Hmm.
and I'm working on a zine with an awesome guy named Eugene Fasano. Uh, he's at Arcana Games right now. Go check him out.
Cool. Yep.
And that gets us in Dragon Magazine, and that's sort of the thing that lets me actually go get work in the industry.
Yeah.
Once you get your first thing, then you can actually go talk.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Versus like, hey, I have a cool. If you're one of the people that goes around, hey, I have a cool idea, you're gonna endure a lot of no.
Yeah.
to get there. Anyway, so that was the straw that broke the camel's back. While I was shopping around, a board game version of one of the mobile
Mm-hmm.
games I worked on, Triangulate. Awesome game, big heart, did not do very well. Um, I meet Mike Pondsmith, and I we hit it off, and he likes the game I put out. And then I engender a situation to meet him uh, in a week, and I work on a prototype I know he'll love in that week furiously, and he wants to buy it. And that's the start of my business relationship with Artel. And since I've gotten them to bring me on full time, oof, it's been so good.
Nice. That's awesome.
Uh, and yeah, and my first product with them is first I start on Witcher,
Yep.
and then we start making the Jumpstart kit,
Yep.
and I hop on that too.
Awesome. Very cool. So
That's the short version. That actually was much shorter than that's
truncated.
been in the past.
The truncated version. But that's a
Oh,
pretty
also,
busy history and throughout the industry.
yeah. I mean, I didn't want to, focus myself on one thing because it might not happen.
Right. Makes
Not
sense.
everybody who wants to be an astronaut gets to be an astronaut.
Right.
That's sort of how I felt about it, because I've been playing games my whole life, and
Mm-hmm.
it's been what I want to do. It's just how.
Yep. Yep.
It's been the thing for me.
Um, Speaking of, through all the games you've played, what are some of your favorite game systems to
Oh
play
boy.
in as well as run
What
as
are
a
can
GM?
you? Oh, you mean TTRPG?
Yeah, TTRPGs. Sorry,
Okay, I was like, wow, all of games. This is a
all
big
of all
question.
of gaming.
Ah,
No,
really did
just
like that
specifically
Mario
tabletop.
race. I did really like the Lego Racers on the PC back in the day, but I don't know if that's my favorite. Anyway, I would, if I could cheat and say other than Cyberpunk
Yeah,
Red, the answer is fifth edition Dungeons and Dragons.
nice. Okay, yeah,
Been a big D&D fan, of course, since the jump,
yep.
and fifth edition is the finest edition of Dungeons and Dragons since 3.5. I think that's pretty. I mean, you could Google that. I think other people agree with me.
Other people tend to agree. I'm actually a big fourth edition fan myself,
Hey,
but I
I'm
also
I'm
like
all
fifth.
about learning. I'm all about learning from the past, and fifth edition is proof that you can learn from the past.
Absolutely. It's cleaned up so much of the rules and made it so much reduce the barrier to entry for Dungeons and Dragons. I think it's a great game. I've actually only played it a couple times. Um, who has time to play Dungeons and Dragons when there are so many other games to play?
It's true. It's true. I have time because I work full time in the industry, but I imagine other people do not.
It's true. My day job is not in the industry, sadly. So, um, just a little bit more background on yourself. Any interesting experiences or really highlights from games you've run or played in, and kind of a follow up to that? How has that influenced you as a game developer?
Oh, um, wow, that's a big question. So I'd have to say it's getting out of school and getting to run a very long term campaign
Mhm.
first time. That's not constrained by like he's gonna graduate in a year,
Yeah.
uh, etc. I'm nobody's moving around all the time. Um, like when you're in school, the games tend to have shorter campaign lengths even.
Hmm.
But when you get out of school, you can finally experience the nirvana of playing the same campaign for longer than a year, uh, which is it's crazy. It's changed my view on pacing. I
Oh yeah.
think in Cyberpunk Red, we really care about time,
Yeah.
the cost of your time, the value of your time, and most of that might be my economics degree leaking through. Uh, but I think that the feature of like how long does it take me to do this, and what does that matter if I spend my
Mm.
time doing that?
Yep.
Making down in a perfect world, you'd be able to play a game that was both crunchy without being too simulationist
Yep.
and where downtime mattered as much as adventure time. Shout out Cartoon Network. But you could have that without the I can't understand this rule book, heads or tails.
Yeah.
Ideally, in Cyberpunk Red, you could use the rule book to defend yourself. I want to see somebody shoot it with a gun. See if it would stop.
It's a thick book.
What I need to know which bullets it will stop. I need somebody to use it as a bludgeoning weapon.
Yeah, just strap it to a pole.
A living thing. I want to see a ballistics gel.
Yeah, we have to call Mythbusters.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Get it on tested. Love that.
Well, it's how many pages is the book?
I'm
blanking. I had
more than 400.
Yeah,
400.
450
450 something. 456.
I feel like that would probably stop a 9mm.
Who knows?
We can find out.
It's a hardcover, so anyway.
Someone will test it for us.
Yes.
Awesome. So, obviously, like I mentioned, great launch week, and all of that. But Cyberpunk Red is also a return to a very beloved system. Obviously, there's a video game also coming out.
Yes.
Related to it.
Coming out. There's even going to be an anime. I'm freaked out.
Wait, there's an anime? I didn't hear that.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, no. Look it up.
That's awesome.
I can't talk about 77 much.
Yeah, no, obviously.
But they've definitely announced they're working on an anime. They have stills. It looks so good.
That's awesome. Very cool.
So,
what was it? What was it like bringing Cyberpunk back to the masses and kind of bringing it back to life with this new edition?
So it was really cool. Of course, it's an amazing experience. It's been an amazing ride.
Mm-hmm.
It's not over. And I'm having a great time on the roller coaster.
Cool.
Right now. I would rate it 5 stars. I'd say mechanically what it's like is it's a lot of streamlining.
Mm-hmm.
But these are beloved rules. They have fans.
Yep.
It's streamlining with an eye toward we're not going to change the game. We're going to change the way you play that game to modernize how you play, not what you play.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's important.
Keep the soul. It's a lot of mysticism.
Good.
You have to keep the soul.
You have to keep the soul of the game intact.
Not necromancy. It never died.
Actually, I was gonna talk about this later, but to that point, then, obviously, keeping the core concept of the game intact and refreshing it a little bit was important. Mm-hmm. What were kind of the things that you were able to cut away from the older editions of the game and see, like, we don't need these. This we can improve on this and do better. And then adversely, what are the things that you were like, nope, this is staying the exact same. We're not changing a thing about it because it's perfect the way it is, or fans will get upset if we remove it.
So a lot of what we did wasn't like cut this entirely. Mm-hmm. It's let's bake this idea into another system that's easier to understand. Like, for example, we removed weapon accuracy from weapons, but we didn't. Okay. Instead, we made a system that was easier to understand than weapon accuracy and did not create a lot of additive math. I don't know if it's my term or I just say it.
I know what you mean.
It's whenever you have to add a number onto the end of a die roll.
Yeah.
If you're doing that, then boy, howdy, are you a solo. I made all those ideas part of the solo class. Which, of course, they're roles, not classes. The idea. And I think players nowadays, in 2020, we had really sort of like GM focused, like, here are the powers this player has. Like, look at Rocket Boy from 2020. Rocket Boy in 2020, you have all of these fans, but how does that impact the game? people are a lot are people want to know how it impacts the rules,
Mm-hmm.
so they don't have to like fill in the gaps all the time. Because I mean, at least for me as a game designer, I want the GM to have to fill in the gaps that are important for them to have to fill in, and focus on filling in those gaps, like the story, the characters. Anything I can do to enable them to do that better, um, to take their mind off of this, that, and the other ruling that they might have to make. I think that's good game design. There was a lot of doing that, not so much removing stuff. The other thing is, this is just the core book.
Yep.
So a lot of stuff we have to save to Splat because it's already 450 something pages, you know?
Yep.
Like, you still have to be able to carry the thing. We were starting to get to the point where, you could lift those a couple of times and increase your body stat.
Yeah, we don't need another. What's the World of
Athletic
Darkness book?
skill.
There's a World of Darkness book that, like, if you open it wrong, you break the spine on it because it's so thick. It's one of the 20th anniversary one. I think it's the werewolf one, maybe the mage one. I can't remember. Yeah.
Great.
Awesome.
So yeah. Bringing forward, that was that. So what we removed, we might have a lot of what we did is reinterpreting, not removal.
Yep.
Sort of all of the. So for all of the we present a more streamlined weapon system, but we also provide these weapon attachments, so that you can recreate the previous weapons with all of their different cool goodies. And now those goodies actually change the gun.
Excellent.
Instead of like lower the reliability of the weapon by one in one roll you make sometimes.
Okay.
You know?
Yep.
We moved toward like a streamlined crunch.
Yep. That makes sense.
But it's still crunchy. Don't get me wrong. There are range tables. Shooting an assault rifle at a certain range is going to be different than shooting shotgun at a range, different than shooting a pistol at that.
As it should be.
Indeed. And range tables were core to the experience, so we had to move through them. We had to get that there. We had to. Anyway, that's my answer. I don't know.
What
was that good enough to do it?
All answers are good in their own way. Okay. Would you say that's like the biggest change you had to make was kind of like streamlining some of those rules, or was there anything else that was like a major shift?
I'd say if there was one thing that we had to reinvent, it was net running. I think that was the hardest thing I did in the book was reinventing net running. So it had so the 2020 version, it took a long time on the table. And it incentivized netrunners to be like a home in a freezer that was armored, so they couldn't be hurt.
Okay.
During the process. Now netrunners have to be in the thick of it. They have to be like within 6 meters of a control node that they're trying to hit, an access point.
Yep.
And it's a bit more streamlined, but there's also a lot of choice in how you tackle it. It's a risk versus reward. Do I go really fast and dangerous, or do I take it step by step, which might not be incentivized? I mean, you might be in a combat where, no, you need that turret to shut down now.
Yeah.
So you need to go get down into that turret in the system really quick, which might cause you to do some dangerous shit.
Cool.
Anyway.
No, that's awesome.
That's that would be the big one.
Nice.
I think.
That'll be
the other stuff, like turning the wound concept, turning hits into hit points. That wasn't a big challenge. That was just reverse engineering math. And the critical injuries are cool and new, but I'm sure you'll ask me a question that lets me talk about critical injuries later.
I probably will. What do you think, other than kind of just like the core concept of the game, what are some of the mechanical things that you kept identical, like didn't touch at all?
The range tables.
Yeah.
The range tables are core to the idea of having different guns shoot differently, and using the right tool for the right job. And additionally, the melee system being, and if you can dodge bullets, the range the ranged systems being opposed rolls.
Mhm.
When you're opposing an antagonist, you both roll, and it just that one little thing. I'm really stuck on this concept, but just that one thing that the GM is rolling at the same time you're rolling, you feel like you're attacking them. You know, like it's so impersonal to roll against AC.
It is. It definitely can be.
Um, it's like, what am I even doing? But if the other guy is trying to dodge your machete, you start feeling like, oh, I might actually be hitting the machete now, huh? Yeah. So I think that's another big system that was really core to the experience. Life path. Oh my God, life path. We had to keep all of that, the feelings of life path. We changed
Mm.
how life path works a little bit, but still it's still similar. You no longer roll per year. Now you roll in a table you go through. You
Mhm.
previously you did that too. You just also rolled per year,
Yep.
but it increased a little bit. That had a little bit too much variance. Plus, there was additional problems of like you could roll that a mob boss is your friend this year, and then next year a mob boss is your friend, and then the mob boss is also another mob boss is your friend, and then maybe if you're making a character not on the table, you might fudge that a little bit so that you know suddenly you're everybody's best buddy, and you have three different karate tutors, and they're all grandmasters in their craft. And you're the chosen one.
Yep.
Um, but what we did was we kept the soul of it, moved it forward, and I think life is something that people will read, be like, "Wow, okay, let's do this for every game." um,
I can say I definitely appreciate that approach to character building. Kind of the concept of here's how you build your character, like the game helping you build a backstory instead of being like build stats on a page and then come up with a story, and then half your players don't, and the other half write 17-page backstories. Having
right.
that guidance through in the book is very important, I think, for modern
Yeah.
games.
If definitely. I feel like just rolling one, even if you're planning on coming up with a character concept
Hmm.
entirely of your own, like we have roll or pick for a lot of them.
Yep.
Like you can choose. So you're still in control of what your background is at the end of the day, but we give you the option to roll it. And that's a very seductive option to play with a really cool toy in front of you. Um, and that creates people who like show up to a character. I've had people show up to session 0 with a character idea, but don't understand how it goes forward,
Hmm.
how it makes sense. And then somehow through rolling life path, they're like, I get it. It makes sense now.
Awesome. Very cool.
It helps them even if they can't, even if you bring something into it, it can still help you.
That's fantastic. I think that's something every game should strive to have as part of its core. Um, Jumping a little bit deeper into the mechanics, give us actually with especially with regard to character creation, give us like a bit of an overview of how the mechanics for Cyberpunk work. For anyone who's not familiar with Cyberpunk Red already.
Okay, I guess I'll start like really far zoomed back.
Yeah.
This is a system where we only use 10-sided dice and 6-sided dice.
Okay.
Primarily, we rolled the 10-sided die for deciding skill stuff and basically skill checks and some roll abilities required as well. Um, and the 6-sided dice are for when we need a big curve.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Most often, this is used for damage. Um, it's also used to give the critical injury table a little bit of a curve.
Okay.
But I will get into that when you ask me the question about stories on table just later. I'm saving that one because it's such a good answer. um, but so it's D10. The D10 does everything a D20 does in a D20 system.
Hmm.
And then the 6-sided dice in different amounts stand in for every other die that you might be used to.
Okay.
Um, so we like to have our damage on a curve, and we like to have a higher amount of a lower amount of options on our main die. 10s explode, so you can roll it again and add to that previous roll.
Yep.
And the 1s implode. I don't know the opposite term of exploding die, where you roll it again, and then you minus that number from your 1.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Like that.
So this adds back in the variance, but it keeps the math down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I doubled down on in the edition by pressing all the other math down. So now it's much easier to add together, and it's a little bit more sane.
Nice.
To the point where you're not rolling 11 dice.
Yeah. Yeah.
For damage and then adding them all together when it,
It's not Shadowrun. We don't need to roll a mountain of d6s every time we do something.
Anyway, that's the general thing. And then everybody gets a roll ability, which is a cool, unique thing their character can do because of their job. And you get to build whatever character you want based on a 10 stat system. And we have like 60 skills. Many of them will not be important to you. But if you want to play an accountant, we have an accounting skill.
Perfect. Some people do.
If you are a STEM major, congratulations. You can play that. You can play yourself in game, and you'll know what to roll when you publish a paper. That's all I'm saying.
Nice. What do you feel? How do you feel that the way the mechanics are crafted for Cyberpunk Red bring about the like cyberpunk themes of the game?
I think the key to this is so this is Cyberpunk Red. This is it's after this lore event called the Time in the Red, where the sky was red after the bomb in Night City. Did I say spoilers?
Nah, it's fine.
Can you have spoilers for a TRPG scenario?
Setting wise,
I'm not going to talk about specific adventure content, but
I don't think there's spoilers for setting. You're good. You're good.
Okay, fair. Well, if you care about that, spoilers. But Time in the Red happens, and it becomes really hard to get new things, and the supply lines of the before the Time in the Red are not achievable in the same way.
Okay.
And you start having to rely on nomads to get you stuff.
Oh, kind of like the pirates.
Even if you have the money.
Kind of like pirates and.
Yeah, kind of like that. Not related though. That was Mike. I merely used that to then inform the economics behind the system. Anyway, so the system has you've got 5 price categories.
Okay.
One of which you really can't afford, and one of which you really aren't trying to buy. If you want to buy a candy bar, yes, we have a price category for that. But if you want to buy a yacht, you're probably not also the same person who wants to buy the candy bar.
Right.
You probably already have the candy bar.
You're the person selling the candy bar.
So many of them. You just you wake up and you look at them in the morning. Why is that funny? Anyway, so different levels. So if you're because we don't have really granular prices like $222.
Yep.
Instead, we have 100, 500, 1,000. This means that if I have a cool assault rifle that costs $1,000, Eurobucks we call them, and you have a cool piece of cyberware that costs 1,000 Eurobucks, then maybe we can skip the creds. I'll just trade you.
There you go.
So that's a way to create easy to play, easy to GM barter economy, and that's kind of what we're going for. Adding to that, if you're not a fixer, you can't access anything that's more expensive than $100.
Interesting.
Which means if you want to get a shotgun, you're buying a poor quality. If you want to get an assault rifle and you don't have a fixer and you don't have a tech who can make one, you're stuck at a poor quality assault rifle. If you want to get it, you have to go to a night market. And the night markets might not have it after the GM generates them. Or they might have something else. And you're like, I don't have an assault rifle, but that's a nice SMG. Or, it might not have any guns at all. It might have armor. Basically, if you don't have access, you can't spend your money. You need money and access.
Right.
And a certain level, or certain classes can use time and access at a lower level and money to get the things you want. And this goes back to what I was saying about the economics of time.
Mm-hmm.
Downtime really matters in Cyberpunk Red. And honestly, it has a lot to do with the narrative as well, because in Cyberpunk Red, you have to pay rent at the end of the month. So spending a month to upgrade your car is like, can you afford that?
Nice.
Maybe you do need to work for a living.
That might be a little too real world for some games.
So yeah, but I know you're like GMing this. How am I going to do this? Oh, I have to keep track of all this stuff. But no, there's only one thing you have to keep track of, and it's the combined cost of lifestyle, which combines food and, hey, I want to go to the movies every Friday.
Okay.
And all that extra stuff, like what quality of food you eat. Can you go to a bar every once in a while? And the rule is, if you at the beginning of the month you say, I want to live a really cheap lifestyle, but then you do end up going to that nice bar, then you need to pay for each drink out of pocket. Anyway, that's the whole lifestyle rule.
Okay.
And then you just attach the rent cost, and that's on the first of the month.
Okay. All right.
That's it.
Straightforward enough.
Anyway. And there are reasons to,
Yeah.
We have rules for crashing at your friend's place. An apartment can sleep comfortably, which is an important rule, because if you're uncomfortable, the next day you aren't going to feel so good.
Yeah.
And having that negative on everything really sucks. Then again, if you can put up with it, maybe you'll be able to get a whole lot of money that month.
Yep. Makes sense.
Anyway.
Cool.
So that sort of feeling like, oh, I do need to pay for this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, everything is for sale. Oh, I can't access the higher ends of technology because I don't have the in. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm a fixer, but I'm not that good of a fixer. I can't get you a Malorian. Maybe we should go steal one. That's a very cyberpunk idea.
Yeah, I like that.
And it might make you feel like it's 2020.
I don't want to feel like it's 2020. No, I like that. That's pretty cool.
Months left.
Yeah, only a month and a half, less than.
Anyway.
No, that's cool though. That is a very cyberpunk-esque sense of like corrupt capitalism and kind of the struggle to survive in a society like that, where like it's very easy for some people and very difficult for others. What do you think?
My favorite part.
Yes. Well,
if you're an exec, sorry, my favorite part. If you're an exec, you don't have to pay rent.
Of course you don't. Of course you don't.
I believe it says you don't have to pay, or you can play an exec and you won't have to pay rent because you're better than other people. And this, of course, means if you have a friend, they might say, "Can I sleep on your couch?"
And then you get to decide if you say no or not. Speaking of, what do you think, as a developer on the book, you're kind of most proud of within?
I'm really I guess I'm a masochist. I really like solving like the hard stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, net running was the hardest part to get right.
Nice.
So I'm very proud of the net running.
Awesome.
And I also am very proud that I was able to use my degree in the economics section. I'm really proud of that as well. And then there's I designed the Continental Brands Corp.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so cool to see that all come together.
Yeah.
The whole new corp section is great. And that had a lot of everybody like brought something in, and it made this really beautiful piece of collaborative art.
Awesome.
Anyway, it's a little sappy,
Oh,
They
that's
don't want to
awesome.
hear about the beautiful creativity of teams. You know what I mean? But you feel that,
You
so you
do.
got to put it out into the world.
You do. It's an important aspect of, building a game is, the collaborative nature of working with other
I
teams and
can't
everyone
I
else.
can't see the chat, but I bet it's funny. But I bet it's
So I think this is the question you were asking for, and I'm very excited to hear your answer for it. But so with Cyberpunk Red and specifically mechanically, but overall, overarchingly, what types of stories do you feel like people are going to be telling with this game?
so I think the story of just so that beginning of 2077, that
Mm-hmm.
narrative they tell in the trailers
Mm-hmm.
where we're gonna be we're gonna make it.
Yep.
That's a story you're gonna be telling in Cyberpunk Red,
Cool.
with the economics section. Um, and I think another story you're going to be telling is that one time I went to the hospital. Um, so whenever you roll damage in Cyberpunk Red, if it's weapon damage, so this doesn't count for netrunners that take damage directly into their brain and don't get to use armor when it's directly in their brain.
Then
Um, but if you roll
brain armor.
boxcars, which is 2 6s anywhere on the dice, just a pair of 6s, even one pair will do it.
Mm-hmm.
2 pairs doesn't give you 2 of them.
Okay.
But if you get even one pair, then you cause a critical wound.
Yep.
Even if all of the damage was soaked by armor.
Okay.
And you get 5 bonus damage, but you also get to roll on the critical injury table based on if you aim for their body or their head. And this is weighted toward foreign object, which is part of the bullet is still in there.
Okay.
But it can also have such lovely cyberpunk stories as sever arm,
Nice.
sever leg. We don't have sever head, because instant death doesn't make any stories. It's remember that one time I died because the DM put a vorpal sword in the game. If that's happened to anyone, I'm sorry.
We apologize for the potential PTSD.
Yeah, sorry, man. But anyway, but you get to then go replace that with cyberware. You get to be the character that remember when my hand got blown off when I was driving that big rig or something full of stolen stuff, and we started getting sniped from a helicopter, and then it hit me in the hand, so I had to drive with one hand. My other hand is totally blown up, and then that's how I have a cyber hand.
Awesome.
I think that story is inherently cyberpunk, and I wanted to make sure that those stories could still be told, and you can still target like leg to wing the target.
Yep.
You can target hand. You can target a held item, or you can target the head to try to get double damage after you go through the head's stopping power.
The choice.
So the combination of these targeting things, the critical injury table, and there are some really cool martial arts abilities. I would even talk about the whole martial arts system in the game. You can learn all these different martial arts. More are coming.
Cool.
Eventually.
Cool.
And some of those let you do targeted critical injuries. Some of them do targeted critical injuries as a defensive action, which is like a defensive thing. Like, wow, you really did not want to grapple me. I know how to do this.
Nice.
Anyway, so I think
Awesome.
crit injuries is the big storyteller of that one time that players are going to have.
Awesome. That's exciting to me. I think that's having that sort of flavor in there is always really fun. So you mentioned obviously there's more stuff coming in the future. Can you give us an idea of what other types of splats kind of are in the planning process right now?
So I can't talk about anything that hasn't been announced,
Yep.
but here's what's been announced. Um, we've got a splat book coming out. It's
Hmm.
called Black Chrome. It's going to have all of the toys that you want.
Cool.
Um, and it'll have even some toys you don't want, but we'll learn to love. And it's probably going to have some toys you didn't know that you wanted.
As happens.
Kind of the same thing as two, but slightly different. Um, anyway, that is currently the only announced splat. There's also two other books on the Witcher front,
Yep.
Book of Tales, and Tome of Chaos.
Excellent.
Those are going to be also very exciting for the Witcher people.
Very cool.
Um, and I will say, however, after these three books, I highly doubt that we will stop making books.
Good. Glad to hear it.
I hope not.
That's your job.
You know, I'm certainly planning on writing more. This is the last message you hear from me. Please.
It won't be the last message we hear from you because we're gonna have you back in a week and a half.
Hey man, I am but one fragile mortal coil.
You mentioned The Witcher though, and I want to touch on that a little bit. How did working on this Cyberpunk compare to the work you did on The Witcher? And was it a dramatically different feel because there's such different properties, or was it actually a pretty similar process?
So, The Witcher, both the games share the same like interlock system, and because of that, there are indeed similarities to designing for both of them. Mechanical similarities, really crunchy, boring answers that I could have right now. But I think the core of the difference is that they're totally different worlds.
Yep.
They're totally different stories that people are trying to tell. And that is what changes because at the end of the day, interlock is what you make it.
Yep.
On the design side. And it gives you lots of freedom. So it's all about interpreting that freedom into player stories that you want people to tell their friends.
Yeah.
Of like, remember when we fought the Leshen? Yeah, the villagers thought it was, I don't know, a bunch of angry beavers in the woods, and also the work of this angry old man who turned out to be a ghost.
As they sometimes do.
Don't write that. Don't write an adventure with that plot. It's awful. Something like that. I didn't want to like. I was afraid I would just go the Book of Tales thing.
I've done that before. Let me tell the story. Oh wait, that's something I'm writing. Oops.
Yeah, no, that is spoilery.
Yep.
I know that at least somebody in chat is going to play one of those adventures, and I don't want to spoil it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's totally different. They're totally different experiences, like worlds to experience, and whole different genres: fantasy and science fiction, right?
Oh, yeah.
We aren't the company that mixes those two. You know which that one is.
Touching on The Witcher a little bit more.
They're both very dark, though. Yeah.
Yeah, they are. They certainly are.
You'd be going through like an emo phase.
Yeah.
We have other lines like Mechton and that are much more lighthearted. Teenagers from Outer Space.
Yep.
We're in a dark emo here period.
Well, so obviously with Cyberpunk, you were building on this kind of pre-existing game line, but with The Witcher, it's the novels and the video games, which are very beloved. Did that feel different trying to like recreate that as a TTRPG?
So I didn't work on the Witcher core book.
Okay.
So my experience on it has been there's this core book, let's support it.
Okay.
With Cyberpunk Red, I've been here since the beginning.
Yep.
On that one. So it's let's build this so that in the future we can support it. So it's kind of interesting for me. It's a personal design challenge. I'm at two different places on the timeline,
Yep.
of an edition. And it's been a very interesting challenge to. I don't know if that's an answer to your question.
No, that's really.
I feel like I started ruminating on something. Apologies.
No, actually, it spawned another question. So, comparatively, how is that process different coming into kind of a game line midstream versus kicking it off from the get go?
Wholly different. Wholly different. It's the difference between writing a design Bible and
Mhm.
following one.
Yeah.
Um, they're both of equal merit, by the way. Writing a
Oh
design
yeah.
Bible is just as hard as following a design Bible. It's just different tasks,
Yeah.
which I guess that's kind of cool for me that I get to have different experiences designing on these two different properties. And what am I saying? It's amazing. And every day I wake up ready to go to work, even in 2020. I feel very blessed.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I would agree with that
but
statement.
yeah, it's crazy. It's totally different, and I always need like 30 minutes to switch modes.
Yep.
Uh, especially when we do like I'm working on some winter stuff in the morning, and then the afternoon I switch back to Cyberpunk. I almost like to take my lunch break in the middle just to
Oh,
switch.
makes sense. Yeah, get a little bit of a buffer and a break from either
Yeah,
of them.
yeah.
Awesome. Jumping back over to Cyberpunk though, the art for the book is fantastic. I was going through some of it earlier. You can see some.
Got some behind you right now. Neil Branchino, everybody.
Um,
If you're an art director, hire him.
yeah, absolutely. What can you tell us more about the art itself, like kind of how the pieces were picked? Did you have any hand in art direction for when it comes to like capturing the things you were trying to do in the mechanics, or?
Jay Kovac is our fantastic art director.
Awesome.
Is by her grace that the book looks so cool. Without her, it would not look as cool, like almost at all.
Awesome.
She's amazing, and that's her department. And am sort of I'm sort of on the level where, hey, is this in the system? And I'm like, yeah. Also, wow, that looks amazing. Is that a sketch? I was like, is that the final one? And she's like, no, that's a color blocking. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Nice.
Wow.
Very cool. Yeah, no, the art is
Yeah, it's
fantastic. If people haven't had a chance to check it out, I recommend going through and looking at some of the stuff that's been released. It's
oh,
amazing.
there's crazy, crazy, crazy art pieces
Mm.
in it. Um, and of course, all of the awesome artists we got to work with.
Yeah.
They're all amazing.
So
Shout out to all of them. Neil is amazing, but everybody's great too.
very cool. That's most of the questions I had. I just want to let people in chat know while we're wrapping here a little bit, you can drop any that you might have, and if they're appropriate, I will ask them. What else, in general, are you working on right now? Obviously, you have Cyberpunk and The Witcher, but any other game lines or personal projects?
I mean, I don't stop designing games just because it's the weekend, but I have to say that I am I am heart and soul into those two lines right now. That's my focus. That's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm I don't know. I'm playing around with other stuff though, as always.
Some random person in chat named Jay Gray
Yeah,
said I should ask you about Friday Night Firefight.
yeah. Friday Night Firefight is a. Did I get texted? Is he texting me? No, he's not. We can do that later. Um, that's our social media manager,
Yep.
and this is what he gets for doing this, and he's responsible for the amazing layout of this book. That oh my god, if you get the PDF, it's totally hyperlinked.
Mm-hmm.
If you click on like a page XX, go here for more information. It will send you to that page. Instant gratification. Amazing.
The dopamine
Uh,
rush.
Oh, of course, of course. You're on a game table and you're like, boom. Oh, now I don't have to flip through the book and wait. Now I can get back to playing.
Awesome.
We love to see it. Yeah, but Friday Night Firefight is a board game that I'm making for Cyberpunk Red.
Cool.
In the world Cyberpunk Red during the time of the Red. There are some photos floating around about it from Gen Con. It's a card and minis game.
Okay.
And one of my favorite parts is that it's like that classic what is it? I don't know if it's a Flash meme or a SpongeBob meme. The Flash, the superhero. Do you want to go? Do you want to hear what the Queen of England is doing? Do you want to see me do it again? It's very fast paced,
Mm.
and each time it randomizes to a point.
Okay.
And that makes every game different, and every game take 15 max, which
Awesome.
is cool because then you can play twice.
Yeah.
It's like light beer. You can drink more.
Nice. Unless there's any more questions that drop in the next minute, I just want to thank you for joining me tonight. This has been very enlightening. I will let people know we haven't formally announced it yet, but you will be back with us on December 5th, where we will be doing a one-shot of Cyberpunk Red. I know I will be playing, and we have some other fantastic cast members. So make sure if you are watching this and want to see more about how this game runs, join us over on Saturday, December 5th at 8 p.m. We'll be sitting down and playing it a little bit. Can you, for my own edification, can you tell me a little bit more about the roles in the game?
Like all 10?
Yeah. Just an overview.
Sure. So we've got solos who are our combat focused class, and they're the best at shooting people and stabbing people.
Okay.
We've got our med techs, which is our doctors that are patching up people who are more metal than meat, and vice versa. And they're the people making sure that solos don't always kill someone.
Yep.
They patch up they get a lot of business from the activities of solos. We have rocker boys who are our rebel rockers that are they have a cult personality around them, and they have fans, and they if you want to role play a celebrity, a minor celebrity who's sort of becoming a major celebrity over time and have that matter on a game table, it's a very interesting role to pick.
Nice.
You've got techs, which can upgrade anything in the game. They can fix anything easily, and they can even rules for inventing new items. They do. We have lawmen, and they are a combat class that can also call on backup mechanically.
Okay.
And they're the people trying to make sure everything doesn't go to hell farther than it already has, in what little way they can stop it from going to hell. We have execs, which are our corporates, and they get a bunch of benefits from their role, like not having to pay rent. They also get team members, and you have to treat your team members positively, or they'll leave or betray you, or there are rules for giving them a stake on your job, giving them a bonus, complimenting them. If you compliment them too much, it doesn't do anything.
Okay.
So you either have to save it for when you need it, or you have to be you need to be a better manager. That's what I'm saying. What else we got? Now I don't know the ones I didn't mention. Net runners. There are hacker class, who are hacking into all of the different these net architectures that are everywhere, shutting down the turrets.
Yep.
Hacking into the mainframe. I'm in. except they're doing this in AR and they're on the site. Uh, uh, they're really just they put the team on their back, and I hope in your party, if anyone plays the Netrunner, they realize what sacrifices you're making for them, just to help them out. And maybe they give you a little bit more money. What else? We got nomads. There are essentially these merchant caravans
Mm-hmm.
in the time of the Red that are getting things from point A to B to stop the general society from collapsing.
Okay.
Because how do you get food into metropolitan areas? Uh, that's them. I believe I think that's
Yeah.
all. Now we got medias and
Okay.
fixers.
Yeah.
Those are left. Medias are news reporters that will do anything to find the truth,
Okay.
or will do anything to spin the truth. And their whole ability is that people will actually listen to things they say.
Oh, okay.
And their role ability is very. It has an element of like you can get the rumors to do the job, but at the end of it, you control the narrative.
Right. Right.
You get to give the story a happy ending, which is an incredibly powerful thing to have happen in general in a cyberpunk campaign. Um, a lower level media won't get the full happy ending they may want, but you know, once you're Colin Powell,
Yeah.
you can do Colin Powell things.
Yep.
David Letterman. There you go.
Yep. Yep.
And fixers are the people that the nomads drop the things off to so that they can put it to the people who deserve to have it. And there's not enough for everybody, and fixers are manage that.
Nice.
And in doing this, they also know people like a media does, but in a different way. You might be talking to the same politician, but the fixer is the one that's bribing them, and the media is also bribing them, but is just trying to interview them. Um, you
Interesting.
get to have more criminal contacts and also fit in with other communities.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Very cool.
that's the 10 roles we got. If I missed any, boy, do I feel dumb. After the fact, I'm talking to myself. But that's the ones I remember off the top of my head.
Awesome. Very cool.
I got them all. Medtex, got techs, execs. But yeah, I got it.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me this evening. It's been a pleasure.
It was a pleasure.
It
Thanks
really
for having
was. If people want to learn more about Cyberpunk Red, I just dropped a link, and you can also go to rtalsoriangames.com and learn more there. See profiles on everyone who worked on the game and all that fun stuff. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining me this evening. If people want to know more about some of the other projects you work on, the board games and stuff, where can they find you?
Huh?
If,
Oh, you glitched out for a second.
oh, sorry. If people want to,
I'm not online.
you're not online.
You can't find me.
Bold choice, and I
Don't
approve.
try. It won't end well for you. It won't.
Excellent.
I lurk the Reddit. If you wish to contact me, do so through those channels.
Just make a post on Reddit. Maybe you'll reply.
Post in a community Discord. I'll see it.
Fantastic. Excellent. Well, thank you again.
Yeah, no, I like to keep it. I like to keep it a little.
Yeah.
Like to keep it a little streamlined on my own side.
It's a bold choice and one that I approve of. Very cool. Excellent. Well, thank you for joining me this evening. Thank you, everyone who tuned in. We have a lot of cool stuff coming up later this week. As I mentioned, December 5th, we'll be doing a one-shot of Cyberpunk Red. Just think real quick. Let me see. Thursday, I will be helping my friend Wes over at Carry and Comfort Studios with his 24-hour charity stream. Friday, we'll have Ace Adventure. This coming Saturday, we'll have a one-shot of Mothership, which I'm also playing in and very excited about. And then we'll have our usual Warhammer fantasy game over on Sunday, and then rolling right back into our normal weekly schedule. So Make sure you check out all those great things. If you want to help support this, subscribe to us, follow us on YouTube. We have a Patreon. You can find us over on GehennaGaming.com. All those links are below the video. And I'm going to stop talking now and let you all enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Yes, good evening. Have a lovely evening.